Escaping from the matrix means lucidity within the dream, not escape from the dream. Welcome back to Astral Urmah, everyone. In the first video of this series, we established a little bit of what the matrix is and how it operates. We established that most people think that the matrix is an external system, a system of machines, elites, artificial intelligence, control grids, something imposed from the outside. And all of that is true. But let's go deeper. From my perspective, those things only exist as expressions of a deeper mechanism. The real matrix is perceptual. It's the agreement to see reality as something happening to you instead of something happening through you. This world operates through consciousness interpretation, and that means that reality is subjective. It is assembled moment by moment based on attention, belief, expectation, and emotional charge. When enough consciousnesses agree on the same rules, those rules appear as solid. Things like timing, aging, limitation, hierarchy, authority, even identity itself, all of it is sustained by collective attention. That is the matrix, a set of perceptual agreements you make with yourself and others. This includes prenatal agreements and agreements decided by your higher self, even at source level. That's why you can take the matrix with you even after you die, because you're attached to certain ideas. You were taught from a very young age to externalize power, to believe that truth exists somewhere outside of yourself, in books and experts and institutions, spiritual leaders, extraterrestrials, gods, and systems. This trains the mind to look outward while ignoring the one place that reality is actually being generated, inside. Escaping the matrix begins the moment you stop assuming that you're small. You are told that you're a body moving through a hostile universe, struggling to survive, aging towards death. But the body is just an avatar. It's a biological interface and a sensory filter. It's not you. You are the awareness experiencing the body. And awareness does not age, does not decay, and does not belong to time in the way that body does. Awareness exists outside of the matrix. The matrix keeps you identified with the avatar. As long as you believe your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions are all that you are, then you are programmable. Because thoughts can be influenced, emotions can be triggered, reactions can be predicted. That is why fear is the primary control mechanism. Fear narrows perception. It collapses awareness into survival mode. And survival mode is the perfect prison because it feels justified. When you're afraid, you stop questioning. You comply. You cling to structure. You accept limitation as necessary. But fear is not an enemy. Fear is feedback. It's the signal that you're identifying with something temporary. The moment you observe fear instead of being consumed by it, the spell weakens. You start to notice that fear arises as a sensation, moves through the body, and dissolves when it's not fed with a narrative. Think about that for a second. That observation is a crack in the matrix. Another crack forms when you start questioning identity. Who are you without your story? Without your name, your memories, your roles, your trauma, without your achievement? Sit with that question long enough and something interesting happens. The mind goes quiet. Because identity, as taught by this world, is a collection of concepts, but awareness exists before concepts. You begin to sense yourself as a presence rather than a personality. This is where many people get confused. They think escaping the matrix means leaving Earth, leaving the body, leaving society, and rejecting everything. But that's still reaction. That's still defined by the system. Real exit from the matrix is internal and done with the mind. Remember, it is lucidity within the dream, not escape from the dream. And just like in a lucid dream, the environment does not disappear when you wake up inside of it. It becomes responsive, flexible, and symbolic. You stop being pushed around by the dream and you start interacting consciously with it. Reality behaves the same way. When you stop reacting automatically, when you stop feeding the emotional loops, when you stop identifying with every thought that passes through your mind, then reality shifts. Not because the world changed, but because the interpretation changed. And interpretation is what renders experience. This is why frequency matters so much. Frequency is not emotion alone. It is coherence. It is the alignment between thought, feeling, and perception. A coherent being generates a stable experiential field. An incoherent being is dragged around by external stimuli. The matrix feeds on incoherence. That is why modern life is designed to fragment attention. Noise, notification, outrage, urgency, endless distraction. Attention scattered means no sovereignty. And sovereignty is the one thing that the matrix cannot tolerate. See, escaping the matrix is reclaiming attention. You stop consuming fear narratives. You stop outsourcing meaning. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for permission. You stop believing that someone else knows better than your direct experience. Not in arrogance, but in clarity. And something subtle happens. You begin to feel space inside of yourself, a gap between stimulus and response. That gap is freedom. In that gap, you choose. You choose how to interpret events. You choose whether to feed a thought or let it dissolve. You choose whether to identify with limitation or observe it. And over time, that choice reshapes your entire experience of reality. The matrix does not collapse dramatically. It fades. It loses relevance. Its rules stop feeling absolute. You see through the authority structures because you recognize that authority is only real when believed in. You see that scarcity, you see through it because you realize abundance is not material accumulation, but it's creative flow. You see through time pressure because you experience presence as timeless. At this point, people often ask, so what about control systems, negative entities, artificial intelligence, and manipulation? Yes, those exist, but they operate within the matrix, not above it. They cannot override sovereign awareness. They can only influence identification. Once you stop identifying, their leverage disappears. That is why no external savior can free you, and no external enemy truly imprisons you. The matrix is self-maintained through belief and attention, which means it's also self-dismantled the same way. You do not fight the matrix, you outgrow it. And when enough individuals do that, not through rebellion, not through force, but through awareness, the collective dream shifts. New rules emerge, new possibilities appear. Not because someone granted permission, but because the old agreements dissolved. Escaping the matrix is remembering that you were never truly trapped. You were exploring, and now you are becoming lucid. Thank you very much for listening to my little spiel here. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day.